How much do you spend on clothing? According to the latest research, women and girls spend an average of 545 per year on clothing, while men and boys spend a little below that at around 326. Footwear is around 314 per household, while clothes for children under 2 comes around 68 for a grand total of 1,434 each year on clothes. Is that about the same amount you spend on your clothing for yourself or your household? As we transition into a new season, as we take things out of storage for our winter gear or our summer gear, it's very tempting to buy new things, to get the latest and greatest, or to be on trend. Before you do that, I just want you to think about your carbon and waste footprint. How can you be more sustainable in the way that you purchase and use up your clothing items and your other gear? In this video, we are going to walk through many ways to extend the life of your clothes, which means you ultimately save time, save money, and reduce your waste footprint. Clothes can absolutely add up, and as your household grows, as you have more children, as your children grows, this part of your budget can ultimately increase. But by following some of these tips, you can extend the life of your clothes. Thank you for joining me today. My name is Catherine John, and here at Sisters for Fi, we cover topics related to personal finance, minimalism, sustainability, and motherhood. Because at the intersection of all of those is a life worth living and a life with impact. The first tip for you today to make your clothes last longer is to first purchase quality clothing. Now, the biggest lesson I learned in my 20s when it came to clothes was that buying quality clothes will always elevate your wardrobe and save you time and money. For years, though, I shopped fast fashion and sales because it was what I knew. In high school, shopping at the mall was a pastime, and it was a habit that I continued to dutifully fulfill as I earned my own money. Fast forward many years later, as I learned about the fast fashion industry, as I also learned to get comfortable in my own skin, I started investing in more expensive yet quality clothes. Now, if you are not used to buying more expensive clothes, this transition can seem daunting. So, when you do transition to a more quality yet expensive wardrobe, it's critical to assess your closet and slowly transition your wardrobe. What I would recommend is to create a list of what's missing in your wardrobe. Figure out what staples you know you're going to wear over multiple seasons and invest in those kinds of things. Remember that you are buying something that should last you multiple years, so you want to make sure that it has good craftsmanship, good materials, so that in the long run it saves you money and it ensures that you want to wear this piece for many seasons or many years to come. When you have a more expensive piece of clothing, you also just tend to take care of it. Instead of just dumping it on the floor or on a chair, you now want to put it on a hanger or fold it and put it out properly. Quality clothing has a higher resale value in the future. So, if in the case that you no longer need it or want to change your style, it can be something that you can resell for maybe a fraction of the cost, but at least you get some money back. Now, your wardrobe staples are going to be completely different, so figure out what that means for you. What are you reaching out for, and what can you invest your money on so that you have something that's quality and that will last you a long time. The second tip is that now that you have these quality pieces of clothing, your next mission is to make sure you read the labels on all of your clothing and follow the care instructions. Most of us just dump all of our clothes into a laundry basket, whether it's colors or whites, different fabrics, and so forth. Unfortunately, this absolutely ruins the fabric on our clothing. They can stretch and rub, and when we get out those clothing out of the washer and dryer, it means that they might be looking a little shabby. So, as you invest in these quality pieces, read the labels, figure out how best to take care of your new clothing. As you navigate all the instructions for how to take care of your clothing, invest in a delicates bag. These are small bags that you can put undergarments in, or underwear, or other delicate fabrics. This will preserve those clothing items and allow you to still wash them with everything else, but they just remain in a small bag so that they don't get caught up in other clothing, get scratched, or really just stretched and rubbed. Again, the washing machine can be a very harsh environment, especially for more delicate clothing. So you'll want to be investing in this really small bag to protect and preserve your clothes. The next tip to help you extend the life of your clothes is to wash less and wash with less detergent. It turns out, though, that we actually don't need to wash our clothes as much as we think. For many of us, we live in air conditioned environments. We don't get that dirty. So we don't need to put a lot of detergent into our washing machines, and we don't need to be washing our clothes that often. So challenge yourself to wear your clothes a few more wears before tossing it into the laundry. Now, it can feel gross to not wash some of your things, but here's a few tips that can help you. One, the minute you get out of your clothes, hang your clothes, make sure it air dries. Part of the reason your clothes stink or seem dirty is because it is harboring skin cells, bacteria, and when it's in a closed environment, when it's not drying out, those can create bacteria that smells and create an odor. This is especially true for activewear or anything else that you wear constantly. Don't dump your clothes on the floor or in the laundry basket. Hang them so that they dry out and then you have the option to wear them again. If you can't keep track of what's been worn, you can also do the method of inside out, where you turn your clothes inside out and you put them back in your closet so that you know which clothes have been used and which one you can wear again before it goes to the laundry. Of course, the less you wash your clothes, the less you dry it. It means that your clothes do not get pulled and stretched in the laundry. So they tend to stay longer, they tend to retain their shape much longer, and you have extended the life of some of your clothing. And a plus two is that it means you don't have to do laundry as often, which can save you a lot of time. The next tip is to use a drying rack. Now, in many parts of the world, dryers do not exist. The sun, with its UV rays, its heat, will do a much better job of drying your clothes than your energy consuming dryer. So, if you have the means to buy a drying rack, buy a clothing line, or set one up so that you can dry some of your clothes in the sun. Now, understandably, sometimes we don't have the space or we don't have the climate and the temperature to dry our clothes out in the sun. So consider doing that indoors. Growing up, we were fortunate enough to both have a dryer in the basement as well as a large space for multiple clothesline in our backyard. And our parents always encouraged us to hang dry our clothes outside to save money on energy. There are now many kinds of drying racks available, and I would encourage you to find one that fits your space instead of going for the default. Also, if you just look at examples of European apartments, Take a look to see what kind of drying setup they have for clothes. Some of them are very compact. Some of them use a retractable clothing line so that when it's not in use, they can remove it and you have the space again for yourself. For us, we use a foldable drying rack at home. Now, it doesn't fit all of the clothes that we wash, so I normally just wash only a few items, or I only put out the things that I want to extend the life of, or things with specific kinds of fabric. Now, unfortunately, I know all of us can't hang dry our clothes all the time. We don't have the space, the time, or just generally maybe the temperature. Find one that works for you, works for your lifestyle, and works for your family. The next step is to give your clothes some space. Just like people, clothes need space too. Getting crammed into a packed closet or a drawer will lead to saggy, ripped, or stretched clothing. And it's very unappealing to see a closet that is full to the brim. So figure out how to give your clothing some space. When you give it some space, you allow it to breathe, to air out in case there's still some sweat or it's wet or any of those things that can lead to odor. To give your clothes some space, get strict about decluttering. Oftentimes, we actually don't need a larger closet or more drawers. We just need to get rid of stuff. As you reduce the number of items that you own, then invest in better hangers, like wooden hangers or felt ones that won't stretch out your clothes. They make your closet look nice and pretty, and then you also will be able to see everything that's in the closet so you can wear everything that you've spent your money on. Our wooden hangers are specifically from IKEA. I find that they're affordable and they have lasted us many years, almost 10 years now. So if that's something, if you're in the market for that, consider going to IKEA to buy some of these things. And for our daughter, we use small felt hangers for her so that some of our items, which are very small and delicate, do not fall off on the ground. We forget about it and she can't fit it after a while. So we consider the types of things that different family members need and find one that fits best for them, for the type of clothing they have. Let me know if this video has been helpful so far. What is your number one tip when it comes to extending the life of your clothing? Leave it in the comments and let's see what others have to say as well. The next tip is to learn to iron or steam properly. A pressed shirt will always make you look more put together. But I totally feel you when it comes to ironing. For years, I had to iron my Catholic school uniform, pleats and all, and I ended up despising the iron. But now I have learned to relove it again. I now mostly actually use a steamer to get the wrinkles off of our clothes. Sometimes, though, ironing and steaming can be very bad for clothing. So, again, you need to go back to reading the labels so that you know exactly the right temperature to use for the fabrics of your garments and ensure that you don't burn or even just scratch your clothing. So, you might also have to figure out which one you prefer best and invest in a quality iron or steamer. It does take practice to iron and steam properly, especially if you didn't grow up with that type of household. So I know that when I was growing up, my parents ironed almost everything at home. So to me, that was something that we knew how to do, that we could do ourselves. But if you didn't come from a household like that, it does take practice, learn it, and keep trying it. When you iron your clothing, you know exactly that what's coming out of your closet is going to be wearable and presentable, and you are not going to be scrambling to find an alternative to wear. So, even just investing in a good iron, good steamer, and then learning how to use it properly can help you extend the life of your clothes, to get a few more wears out, and ensure that you go out into the world presentable. The next thing that I would encourage you to invest in is invest in a fabric shaver. These are basically little devices with a small rotating blade that allow you to remove fuzz and pills on fabric. These little devices will help you extend the life of sweaters, hoodies, and any other clothing made from wool, cashmere, or angora. Again, going back to more expensive stuff, if you have an expensive wool sweater, investing in a fabric shaver and removing those pills and fuzz, maybe every so often, will help ensure that your sweater is looking nice. I bought our fabric shaver from Target many years ago. It was around $10 and it saved so many of my sweaters. I've even used it on our couch to remove some fuzz, and also that has helped our couch last longer. For such a small device, it can save so many things around your home. If you are also thrifting for some high quality sweaters made of wool or cashmere, but it looks a bit rough, using a fabric shaver will more likely help you clean it up and then be able to wear it again as if it was brand new. I will link some of these devices in the description so that you can research and find one that works for you. The fabric shaver, steamer that I personally use, as well as a good iron, and a bunch of the other things I will mention in this video. The next thing I'd also recommend is to learn some basic mending. This is a simple sewing the button or maybe hemming. Now, I will also be the first to admit that I am not the best sewer. I don't have those skills. So I also invest in shortcuts like buying fabric tape and no sew tape instead of actually sewing with needle and thread. These just help me extend the life of my clothing and make sure that I'm not throwing things out or putting things aside that I know that can be worn with a simple fix. A recent find that I'm excited to try out are these little cashmere and wool patches from an Etsy store. They are basically stick on and help cover small holes or stains in some of your high quality fabrics. So I am going to be taking out some of our sweaters in the next few weeks, and I know that one or two have holes, and instead of me throwing them out, I think I'm going to invest in these patches so that it can provide me an updated sweater with a cooler maybe design on it. The last tip I would recommend is to get to know your local tailor or shoe repair craftsman. These people can help you get more life out of your clothes and your shoes. They can help you get that hem just right so you're not stepping on your favorite jeans or pants. They can take in or let loose clothing so it fits you just right. First, I've personally used a shoe cobbler to fix some boots that I had, adding new heels, putting in some new leather conditioner, and as well as fixing a bag. These craftspeople are very well skilled and they can absolutely extend the life of your clothing and make it better for you to use. Repair is a dying trade, unfortunately, because it's easy to buy just the new and latest. But if we continue to support these local craftsmen, make sure they understand what you're looking for so that they can fix your item just the way you want it. Lastly, I also recommend these sneaker patches. These can help you again extend the life of your sneakers. If you wear your sneakers often and they start to be wearing down on that heel area, these sneaker patches are a good way to fix it up, cover it up, so you can get more miles and more wear out of your sneaker. I found this on Amazon. I will link that below, and they're also good for kids' shoes, maybe other heels or other casual sneakers that you have that still has life but has a little bit of a hole or needs a minor mend. I know it's so easy to go online and get something brand new at your door, but the more we invest in these quality pieces of clothing, we can really save ourselves the time, the money, and the space and the earth's resources. So, as we transition into another season, just reconsider what you're buying, how often you're buying, and see how you can buy more quality pieces from manufacturers, from companies that are committed to manufacturing practices that are sustainable, eco conscious, and ethical. We sometimes get caught up in buying new things because it's been marketed as sustainable. Remember that the most sustainable item is most likely the thing that you did not buy. Because when you do that, it means you are either mending something, borrowing, or using up what you have, or you are completely going without. Being eco conscious is not about having all of the sustainable brands in your home. It's really about watching what you're consuming and being very intentional and mindful of that. Thanks again for joining me today. If you want more videos like this, consider subscribing to Sisters for Fi, where we cover personal finance, minimalism, sustainability, and motherhood. If you've got a favorite tip to make your clothes last longer, let me know in the comments and let's learn from each other. I will see you next week for the next video. Bye!